I am in Indianapolis, Indiana at the Eiteljorg Museum. This is one of the best collections of Western art and Native American artifacts in the country, but I'm not here for that this time. I'm here for Jingle Rails. It is a Christmas model train exhibit, kind of folk arty. And there's also the Real West exhibit, which has Western movie props like John Wayne, stuff like that. So that should be cool. So let's head inside. So it starts with Indianapolis. You see Monument Circle there, Salesforce Tower. And right there is the Eiteljorg Museum. Museum we're in. And that right there is the Cataldo mission in northern Idaho. I haven't been there, but it's a Jesuit mission near Coeur d'Alene. Western town. And there's Mount Rushmore. It's Western artist C.M. Russell's Montana cabin. The Old Faithful Lodge, probably my favorite hotel I've ever been to. And Old Faithful is going on. This is a Tlingit village. The Glacier Park Hotel. This is the Hoover Dam and Red Rock Canyon, been there. So this is one of the newer ones, it's Las Vegas. So there's a lot of references, Paris, Las Vegas, the Eiffel Tower. There's a Vegas Vic the Cowboy on Fremont Street, Caesar's Palace, drive-through wedding, sign. So there's the Awahani. I know they changed the name, but I don't care. It will always be the Awahani. I think that's Yosemite Falls up there. the Aspen, Colorado ski resort. They have a little chairlift thing going. So the old Grand Canyon Railway Station, saw that. But this is the Grand Canyon. The El Tovar Hotel up there. In the back is a cliff dwelling. I think this is the Longhouse at Mesa Verde National Park. They've got hot air balloons for Albuquerque. And this is new this year, and this is my new favorite. It's Route 66. So this is my number one trip that I want to do. So hopefully pretty soon I could do that. Here you can see it starts in Chicago. I think that's the Steak and Shake in Springfield, Missouri. Old Sinclair Station, Rainbow Curve Bridge in Kansas and Mater, the Blue Swallow Motel, I think that's for Holbrook, Arizona, and there's Cadillac Ranch, Jackrabbit Country Store, here it is, old diner. The Blue Whale of Catoosa, Randy's Donuts in Los Angeles, and the Santa Monica Pier. There's the Golden Driller in Tulsa, Oklahoma, as well as the Gateway Arch. It's gonna happen one day. This is a covered bridge for Park County, Indiana. They have the most covered bridges in any place in the world. There's Old Union Station in Indianapolis. The amount of detail they put into this is insane. You can look inside Lucas Oil Stadium. And here's the State Fair. There's the old Pepsi Coliseum and the old Normandy Barn. This is the Real West special exhibit with lots of great Western movie costumes and props. Starting with the iconic costume worn by Clayton Moore in The Lone Ranger, which was aired from 1949 to 1957. This is also a mask and gun belt worn in filming of the series. The costume of Javier Bardem as Anton Chigurh in No Country for Old Men. The dress worn by Linda Hunt in Silverado, in which she played the character Stella. And they had lots of hats on display. In the front is Danny Glover's hat from Buffalo Soldiers and Steve McQueen's hat from Tom Horn. The hat worn by Glenn Ford as Ben Wade in 3:10 to Yuma. And a hat worn by Gene Autry around 1950. These are the black hats. The one on the left was worn by Tim McCoy, and the one on the right was worn by Wallace Beery. The hat worn by Clint Eastwood as the Preacher in Pale Rider, This hat was worn by William S. Hart around 1925. He was a silent film cowboy. The gun belt worn by Richard Dix as Yancey Cravat in Cimarron in 1931. The saddle and chaps worn by Buck Jones, an early stuntsman, used between 1915 and 1920. And his used gun and holster used in early westerns. This is a shirt worn by John Wayne in 1935, so early on when he was a B-Western actor. A shirt and hat worn by Tom Mix, who was a rather popular B actor who died in a horrible car crash. This was all worn by Ken Maynard, who followed in Tom Mix's footsteps and was also in Buffalo Bill's Wild West show for a time. This is Gene Autry's 042 Martin guitar. He is probably the most famous singing cowboy ever. In the center and right are a hat and boots worn by another famous singing cowboy, Roy Rogers, and the hat on the left was worn by his wife, Dale Evans. Oh, and Woody counts as a Western movie star now. This is an old Howdy Doody toy marionette puppet from the 1950s. That hat was worn by Clint Eastwood as Rowdy Yates in Rawhide. The long underwear worn by Robert Redford as the Sundance Kid in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, one of the only westerns I've ever seen. That hat was worn by John Wayne in Cahill, U.S. Marshal. A costume worn by Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood. Costume worn by Haley Steinfeld as Maddie Ross in True Grit. This shirt was worn by John Wayne in the 1956 movie The Searchers. A shirt worn by Kevin Costner in Dances with Wolves. Here's some Latino costumes used in Western movies. And screen-used Native American costumes. This dress was worn by Shirley Jones as Lori Williams in the 1955 movie Oklahoma. And this is a 1933 robot head from the Phantom Empire, which was Gene Autry's first starring role in a movie. This is the Marshal, depicting John Wayne as Rooster Cogburn, and this was made in 1969 by Harry Jackson. This is a pretty famous and iconic sculpture because it was featured on the cover of a Time magazine back in the day. I was really impressed with this exhibit, even though if you couldn't tell, I am very illiterate when it comes to Western movies and actors. I do have a video on the permanent galleries of the museum, so if you haven't seen that, go see what's usually here at the Eiteljorg. Alright, so that was Jingle Rails and the Real West, both very cool exhibits. Love Jingle Rails, that is an annual Christmas tradition for me. But anyways, if you like this video, I have other videos at museums and roadside attractions, a lot of them places depicted in Jingle Rails, so make sure to check those out. And thanks for watching.